The night was a monster of its own, rain slashing down like knives, thunder cracking the sky open, and the forest breathing with shadows. Rachel gripped the steering wheel of her old car, her knuckles white. The headlights cut through mist, but barely. The road was lonely, the kind of place where the silence pressed against your skin like cold hands. Then, cough, cough, sputter, the engine died. No, not now. Please not now, Rachel whispered, hitting the wheel. Her phone flickered with one bar of signal. She quickly dialed David. Rachel? Where are you? I hear the storm, David's voice crackled through. My car just died. I'm near the forest road. It's so dark. I'm scared. Lightning split the sky, and in its white flash, Rachel saw it. An enormous crumbling mansion at the edge of the trees. Its windows glowed faintly as if firelight flickered inside. Her heart pounded. She swallowed hard. David, I see a house. Maybe I can get help. Wait, don't go in alone, David warned, but the call stuttered, static eating his words. Rachel, shivering in the rain, had no choice. She ran, mud splashing under her feet, and reached the towering wooden doors. She raised a trembling hand and knocked. Thud, thud. The door creaked open. An old man stood there, his white hair slicked back, his eyes kind but strangely sharp. He smiled gently. Come in, child. You'll catch a fever in this storm. Behind him a woman appeared, her face soft, her voice honeyed. Poor thing, you must be freezing. Stay with us tonight. We'll take care of you. Rachel hesitated. Their kindness should have soothed her, but something about their smiles didn't reach their eyes. Still, desperate, she stepped inside. The house smelled of lavender and smoke. Old portraits lined the hall, faces that seemed to watch. The furniture gleamed as if polished that very day, too clean, too perfect. Her gaze fell on a door down the corridor. Unlike the others, this one was painted in a deep, dripping crimson red. It seemed to breathe. Rachel's throat went dry. Why is that room red? She asked quietly. The auntie's smile froze. Her eyes flickered to the uncle before returning to Rachel. That room is very special, but don't go near it. The way she said it, sweet but heavy, like a secret wrapped in velvet, sent chills racing down Rachel's spine. Rachel nodded quickly, but as she followed them further into the house, her heart wouldn't stop whispering, "What's behind the red door?" Night had fully fallen. The storm outside raged like a living thing, wind shrieking through the trees and rain hammering the roof in relentless rhythm. Rachel sat in the sitting room, wrapped in a thin blanket, her body shivering not from cold, but from unease. The old couple fussed over her, offering tea in delicate porcelain cups. Their smiles were warm, but their eyes cold, too still, too knowing. Rachel tried to eat, but each sip of tea felt like swallowing fire. The silence between each thunderclap was heavier than the storm itself. Every creak of the old mansion made her heart leap. Then she heard it. A scratching noise, soft at first, coming from somewhere deep within the house. Scratch. Scratch. Rachel froze, eyes darting to the crimson door down the hall. The sound seemed to come from inside it. She swallowed, trying to tell herself it was the wind, but it wasn't. The scratching grew louder, accompanied by faint whispers that seemed to echo her own name. Rachel, Rachel. Her pulse raced. She pulled the blanket tighter around her, forcing her legs to move, forcing herself to remain calm. She told herself, it's just an old house. Old houses make noises. Old houses. Old houses. Hours passed, each second stretching like an eternity. Rachel dozed in fits, waking to shadows dancing on the walls, cast by the flickering candlelight. Every shadow seemed alive, moving just beyond her vision. Then, at the stroke of midnight, came a knock. Knock, knock, knock. Rachel's breath hitched. She hadn't heard the uncle or auntie move. Slowly, trembling, she rose and opened the door to the hallway. There they were, standing as if no time had passed. Their smiles, soft and inviting, almost fooled her. They held a tray covered by a silver dome. "My dear," the auntie said, her voice silky, "you must be hungry." Rachel nodded, too terrified to speak. She lifted the lid and screamed. Inside was not food, not even a faint trace of comfort. It was a severed human head. Its eyes stared at her, wide and unblinking, pupils dilated with silent terror. Rachel stumbled backward, almost falling, the tray clattering to the floor. Candles flickered violently as the storm outside pounded in approval, and then the couple weren't there. Her heart froze as she looked up. The uncle and auntie hung from the ceiling upside down, twisted in impossible shapes. Their eyes glowed red and their mouths stretched into cruel, demonic grins. Behind them, the walls shifted, revealing the corpses of travelers long forgotten, chained and swinging gently. The auntie's voice slithered through the room, cold as ice. "Do you know why this is called the Red Room? Because the walls are painted with the blood of everyone who came before you. And tonight, your blood will keep it red." Rachel tried to scream, but her voice died in her throat. Her phone was still in her hand, the line open to David, who could hear nothing but the screaming wind and then silence. The room seemed to stretch, the shadows curling around her like black smoke. The crimson door beckoned, whispering her name, promising something darker than death itself. Her mind screamed, "I have to get out. I have to survive. I must." But the mansion had only just begun. David couldn't sleep. Rachel's screams haunted him, echoing in every corner of his mind. He knew the forest road, the abandoned mansion, the Red Room. All the stories were true. His heart burned with fury, and he swore he would save her, no matter what it took. He spent the night poring over old manuscripts, searching for protective spells, chants, and ancient rituals. Candles flickered around him, casting elongated shadows on the walls. Salt lined the windowsills, iron knives glinted under the candlelight, and in the center of his room, an old book lay open, pages trembling as if alive. By dawn, he had a plan. The next stormy night, David drove through the same lonely forest road, the rain lashing against his windshield. Each flash of lightning revealed twisted, gnarled trees, their branches reaching like claws. And then, there it was, the mansion, dark, towering, waiting. He stepped out, carrying a satchel of salt, candles, and the book of mantras. The front door opened before he could knock. "Poor boy," the auntie said, her voice sweet as honey. "You must be tired." "Come in. Stay the night." David smiled politely, hiding the storm raging in his heart. "Thank you. I just need to rest a little." Inside, the air was thick, heavy with the smell of decay and incense. Candles lined the walls, flickering unnaturally. Shadows danced and twisted, forming faces that seemed to leer at him. He tightened his grip on the book, whispering protective chants under his breath. As midnight approached, the couple returned carrying a silver dome. David's pulse raced, but he did not flinch this time. He knew what to expect. He lifted the lid. A severed head stared up at him, its eyes frozen in terror. David's lips pressed together. Calmly, he said, "Why don't you both come inside?" The uncle and auntie stepped forward, smiling, but the smiles twisted, melting into grotesque, demonic forms. Their bodies contorted, skin cracking like burning paper, eyes glowing red with malice. The shadows around them surged, stretching and curling like black smoke. David acted quickly. He drew a protective circle with salt around himself and the tray. Candles flared, their flames dancing violently. With hands trembling slightly, he began chanting from the ancient book. The house shook. Thunder slammed like a drum of doom. The couple screamed, their voices warping into inhuman shrieks. Flames erupted from their bodies, licking the walls, consuming the darkness that clung to them. "No, do not take the red away from us," the auntie screamed, voice cracking like breaking glass. "This house must remain red," David continued, sweat running down his forehead, heart hammering, but his voice never faltered. The fire consumed them fully. Their bodies crumbled into ashes, the demonic presence writhing and screaming, then vanished. For a moment there was silence, a suffocating, heavy silence that pressed down on David's chest. Then movement. The walls began to bleed, not outward, but inward. The blood reversed, flowing back into the corpses that hung chained and silent. One by one, their eyes opened. The dead breathed again, their bodies shivering as if waking from a deep nightmare. And then, Rachel. She gasped, coughing as if emerging from water, her eyes wide with terror locked on David. Tears streamed down her face as she stumbled toward him. He caught her, holding her tightly, whispering, "I've got you. You're safe now." The house shuddered violently, cracks running along the ceiling and walls. Behind them, the mansion groaned and creaked, then collapsed into dust, leaving nothing but mud and puddles in the storm. The red room vanished, its horrors erased, or so it seemed, but as David and Rachel ran into the stormy night, David turned once. Among the ruins, in the shadows, two red eyes glowed, watching, waiting. Some evils never truly die. The rain had softened to a drizzle. The forest, once alive with stormy fury, now seemed eerily silent. Rachel clung to David's arm as they trudged through mud and broken branches. Her clothes were soaked, hair plastered to her face, but she barely noticed. She was alive. She had survived. Around them, the forest seemed different. The shadows were darker, longer, stretching in unnatural angles. Each step made them both flinch. Even the wind seemed to whisper their names. David looked at Rachel. "It's over. At least I think it is." Rachel shook her head, tears streaking through the mud on her cheeks. "I don't feel like it's over. I can feel it, David. Something's still watching us." He frowned, glancing at the ruins of the mansion, now reduced to ash and debris. For a brief moment, two red eyes flickered in the remains, gone the instant he blinked. No, it can't be. They reached the roadside where a faint light from a passing car promised help. Exhausted and trembling, they stepped into it, hoping the nightmare was behind them. But nightmares have a way of lingering. Over the next few days, Rachel couldn't sleep. Shadows moved in corners, whispers echoed in empty rooms. Even the sunlight felt strange, too dim, as if the world itself remembered the red room. One night, as she stared at the ceiling, the familiar scratching sound returned. Soft, slow, almost patient. Scratch, scratch. Rachel froze. Her phone vibrated. David calling. She answered immediately, voice shaking. "Rachel, are you okay?" I think I hear it again. The scratching, the whispering. David's jaw tightened. "We must be careful. Whatever survived, it isn't gone." Not completely. That night, Rachel dreamt of the mansion. The red room was alive in her mind, walls dripping with blood, eyes watching her from every corner. She could hear the aunt's voice whispering, faint and venomous. "Some evils never truly die, and neither will you." The next day, strange things began to happen. Objects in their house shifted positions. Candles blew out despite closed windows. Cold drafts passed through locked rooms. And sometimes, just for a moment, they could swear they saw a shadow with glowing red eyes watching from the corner of the room. David realized the truth. The curse was not just in the mansion. It had latched onto Rachel and him, following them, feeding on fear. He began studying more mantras, more protections, more ways to seal evil that had survived. Rachel, terrified but stronger than she felt, whispered, "We survived the Red Room. Maybe now we survive it." The storm had passed, but the storm within had not. They had escaped death, but the Red Room had left a mark that neither of them could forget. And in the night, as they drifted into a tense, uneasy sleep, two red eyes watched silently from the darkness outside their window, waiting, patient, hungry. Some evils, once awakened, never truly leave. Weeks had passed since the collapse of the mansion, but the unease never left Rachel or David. Every shadow felt alive. Every creak of the floorboards whispered threats. One night, David awoke to a soft tapping on the window. His heart stopped. He opened his eyes slowly. There, reflected in the glass, were two glowing red eyes. Rachel stirred beside him, sensing the same presence. "David." "It's here," she whispered, voice trembling. They knew what had to be done. The curse had followed them, feeding on fear, growing stronger in the shadows of their home. David spread salt in a perfect circle in the living room, placing candles at each corner. Ancient mantras were written on parchment and pinned to the walls with iron nails. Every protective charm they had collected glimmered faintly in the candlelight. The red eyes appeared in the center of the room, solidifying into a misty humanoid form, twisted, demonic, its voice a chorus of whispers. "Did you think it would end so easily? The Red Room lives in you, in your fear, forever." Rachel stepped forward, shaking but determined. "No, we survived once, we can survive again. You have no power over us." The demon laughed, a sound that split the air like shattered glass. It surged forward, and the room grew cold, shadows twisting into spikes. David began chanting loudly, his voice cracking but strong. Rachel joined, repeating the mantras she had learned. The candles flared, forming a protective barrier. The demon screamed, striking at the circle, but it could not penetrate the salt line. Crack! The floor beneath it split, and the misty form shrieked in fury. "Blood of the past! Fear of the living! I command you! Return to the void!" David bellowed, raising the ancient book. The entity writhed, its form twisting, becoming smaller, denser, its screams echoing through the walls. The red eyes burned brighter, then flickered, and finally vanished in a silent, horrifying snap. The room fell completely still. Rachel and David collapsed, exhausted but alive. Tears streamed down their faces, relief mingled with lingering fear. The curse was gone, finally. The next morning, the sun rose clear and bright. Birds sang. The forest around their home seemed lighter, calmer, as if a terrible shadow had lifted. Rachel and David held each other tightly, knowing they had survived something no one should ever face. But sometimes, in quiet moments, they could swear they felt a watching presence. A whisper in the wind, a shadow at the edge of their vision, a reminder that some darkness never truly dies. And though they were free, the memory of the red room, the blood, the corpses, the twisted smiles, would haunt their dreams forever. Rachel and David rebuilt their lives, stronger, closer, and more vigilant. They shared their story only with each other, warning themselves and anyone who would listen. Some houses should never be entered, some rooms should never be opened, and some evils are patient enough to wait a lifetime. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dark tales that will haunt your nights. Because sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones that never truly end. If you enjoyed this chilling tale of the Red Room, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more dark, mysterious, and spine-tingling stories. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that will haunt your nights. Share this story with friends, if you dare. And remember, some nightmares never truly end. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next terrifying adventure.